Hey everybody, it's Matt the Dice Chucker. Today we're going to be talking about the Children of Dahara, which is the final series of books in the Sword of Truth series. I have them all right here. I happened to obtain them when they were being released in novella form. I do not have the big compilation version of this. So a little background here. This was released around the same time the Nikki Chronicles were being released. Let me check. Yeah, 2019. So this was around the second Shroud of Eternity, the second book in that series. And the first one was a novella. It is printed by, and I'm going to get this right here, Head of Zeus Publishing. Yes, Head of Zeus. I have no idea if it's an affiliate of Tor. I don't think so. But he went to a different company to print this, and the first four, The Scribbly Man, Hateful Things, Wasteland, and Witch's Oath, are all considered novellas. The last one, at least the version I have, I think there's a few different versions of it. This one is the full novel version. It's the one that's almost 700 pages. 677 pages. So, where to begin with these? This is taking place following the Richard and Kaelin series. And it's that promise that Richard made of the Golden Age. This Golden Age that was going to come for all of them. And we start with the Scribbly Man. Now, give me a second, I just dropped it. Now, Nikki is not in these. It's mainly just Richard and Kaelin. There's not a lot of people with them. There's some Mord Sith, but basically, they're holding these courts for people. I'm sorry about the pause there. Holding these courts, and Richard and Kaelin are talking to the people. They're coming forward with their concerns or their complaints. And Shale comes forward. She is a witch woman, basically saying, if you are considering this peacetime, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to say the whole thing, but considering this peacetime, then you're a fool. Eventually, Kaelin gets taken away, and she's put into this room, and she's trying to confess another individual. Something with the Golden Goddess comes up, and an alien form of something, and I'm not saying space alien, it's just like something unaware, attacks her. And all it does is it looks like a bunch of scribbles in the air. And that's what they call the Scribbly Man. Now, I get the feeling that all of these books were meant to be one book, which of course it was released eventually as one book. Let me just show you here. The first book, The Scribbly Man, it is a novella. It's 184 pages with some very large print on the interior. So, I think I read this in 2 hours. And, well, I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but I'm going to have to because I'm reviewing all of them in one book. It turns out that they find that they want to put Kaelin into the Wizard's Keep because it would keep her safe. They want to go use the Sliff. They can't use the Sliff because the Sliff reveals that Kaelin is pregnant. Oh, no, wait, that's the second one. Never mind. Forgot I said that. So eventually Shale, the witch woman, is trying to heal Kaelin from the wound she gets from the Scribbly Man, and finds out that she is pregnant with twins. All right, so that is the Scribbly Man. Like I said, if you haven't read it, it took me about 2 hours, so on to the next one. Trying to make these short. Then we get to number 2, Hateful Things. This is where we get more answers. Now, was this also 2019? Let's take a look. This was also 2019. Thank goodness, because the Scribbly Man leaves you with so many unanswered questions that it's typical Terry Goodkind. But Kaelin is being watched over. She's being protected while Richard is trying to figure out more information. I think the Golden Goddess is first mentioned in the Scribbly Man. That is your main villain through the whole thing. But you learn more about the Golden Goddess here in Hateful Things. I can't remember if it's the goddess herself or the followers of the goddess who are called the Glee that are starting to possess people and do head bounces throughout the whole thing. Like they bounce from one person's mind to another person's mind to another person's mind, and it's kind of like a jumping exorcism, if you will. Sorry, jumping possession, if you will. We learn more about the Glee. Richard eventually gets most of the answers he wants. I wouldn't call it all the answers he wants, but a lot of this book is a chase scene. And eventually they come upon the idea that Kaelin has to be sent to the Wizard's Keep. Now we're getting to the part that I spoiled earlier. And then the Sliff, and she hasn't told Richard yet that she's pregnant. And the Sliff basically says to her, I can take you, I cannot take Kaelin because Kaelin is carrying twins. And I think that's how the book ends. Let me just check, because it's so easy for me. So yeah, eventually Richard has to go by himself, shocker, to the Wizard's Keep to find answers about how to handle this thing while Kaelin is left behind. That's how the book ends, but then we get to Wasteland, the third in the series, and I don't believe he ends up going, because he wants to be there with her. And yeah, he's not going to go. Yeah, he's not going to go. But Wasteland, which is 2019 as well? 2019. Let me see if they're all published at the same time. Well, I briefly describe Wasteland because it's pretty much... Yeah, anyway. I'll tell you in a second. But Wasteland is pretty much what I would call a sidestep. I'm trying to remember if any of the other Sword of Truth books do this, and I'm sure they do. I just can't remember which one off the top of my head. Where we're going on this Golden Goddess storyline, we're fighting the Glee that are invading the palace through people's minds. We're doing all of that, and then suddenly we have this new villain, and we have to just sidetrack completely. All right, it's a side quest. It's a side quest, and then they go down. They think there's answers into this labyrinth. They go down into a labyrinth, and then there's this villain there, Morovaska, and he's in no surprise to any good kind reader out there, a fan of torture. And so by the end, he's kind of gotten all of them strung up. Richard Kaelin, I think Shale is there too, and he's kind of like the whole meat hook hanging that they do in some of these situations in films. I know the camera's not there; the camera's right there. I have the iPad switched today for filming, so I'm just so used to looking the other way. There's not much to say about this book. It is a side quest. It's more of just Richard running down hallways. It's more of Kaelin running down hallways. They get caught. The villain says, ha ha ha, let the torture begin. Next. Okay. Because that's how it ends. Witch's Oath. This one is actually published in 2020. Alright. They make their way out of the labyrinth, and then Richard does have to go. This one seemed like nothing happened in it. I know that Richard eventually has to leave Kaelin behind. He is, I believe, going to Idendro, but he's also trying to find out what he can do with this Golden Goddess. Now, the Northern Waste, I believe, is where they are. I do this because it says Northern Wastes, but there's still no map that's been updated since the first book that I can't tell you exactly where the Northern Wastes are. And I think he's even going to try to find a way to get to this other realm that the Golden Goddess is in. This book has a lot of exposition on that, and I'll get more about that in just a second. And then we've got Into Darkness, the novel of the book, which is, if I were to look at it in the bookstore, if I could find a copy of Children of Dahara in my local bookstore just to check, I bet this is the final, if not the third, the final half. Richard eventually just makes his way to the other realm. He's able to fight the Golden Goddess, but he's also able to liberate the Glee, which is interesting. He doesn't kill them all. They all talk to him. It's the power of the sword. And when he finds this, he believes that by sacrificing himself, going into the other realm, he won't be able to make it back. But of course, it's Richard. Richard knows everything. So he's able to find his way back. Oh, how convenient. So, and then when he finally walks back, it's Kaylin has had the 2 kids, and the series is over. Now, that is a very vague synopsis because I do not want to give anything away. Somebody once commented, I'm not sure if it was on this channel or on my other channel, that I'm sorry, but it didn't seem like you read the books. I'm trying not to give away stuff. Alright? If I gave away stuff, then you wouldn't want to read the book. Who sits there saying, I'm going to look at a review for the new fantasy book release, watching it and say, that doesn't sound like a story I like. If only he didn't ruin the book for me, I might have enjoyed it myself. I'm getting off track. So, what did I think of Children of Dahara? What did I think of it? I don't want to be disrespectful. I really don't. It doesn't seem, well, like it should have been this many books. This just seems like it's there to pad out the price. But I also don't feel like it was necessary. The stakes, like the thing with Sword of Truth, and I would even go as far to say with the Richard and Kaylin series, and I do consider that the Sword of Truth, is the stakes always seemed fairly high. There was some reason for it to be considered epic fantasy. There were up and down moments, of course, but there always seemed to be that larger goal towards the end. But with these novels, especially the novellas, well, except the Scribbly Man. I'm going to actually put the Scribbly Man out. This one just jumped right into the action, and we were there, and it was boom, 2 hours, I was done. But I feel a lot with these books like I do with the old TV show Lost. When Lost first aired, I really liked it. It had some neat stuff going on, and the perfect amount of mystery to keep me engaged and to keep me involved. But as the show began to go on, even in the middle of the first season and for the rest of its existence, from what I understand, I bowed out of the show in season 4, you would spend the first 20-25 minutes of its 44-minute runtime recapping what happened in the last episode, and if you were lucky, you got to see the last few episodes. I used to joke that you didn't need to watch every episode of Lost, you need to watch every third episode of Lost, and you'll understand what's going on. But anyway, that's how Hateful Things and Wasteland felt. That there was a lot of recap, at least for the first, like I said, for the first, half, we were just rehashing. We were doing exposition. We were doing the whole, isn't Richard fantastic? All the women in the books were like, he's so handsome. I want to be with him, but he'll never be with me because he's with Kaylin. What a lucky woman. And it's like, this is weird style. Witch's Oath, the positive thing with Witch's Oath's beginning is it just starts right at the scene you were just in. Now, of course, the others do as well, but then after that first chapter, it's a little bit of Richard regurgitating his days. He's not sitting down in front of an inquiry asking what's going on. He's just happening to tell people who were with him side by side and many times, hey, what do you think about that thing that happened? What thing happened, Richard? You know the thing. Let me go and explain the thing for about 10 pages. 10 pages of a novella, do you want to really spend that much time explaining? Sure, why not? Anyway, that's how it feels. Witch's Oath, however, feels a lot more like the part in every Sword of Truth book that starts the justification of Richard's actions. So in book 2, Hateful Things, which the book does get its title, when I'm talking about the possession jumping, Richard eventually does end up killing one of the victims, and it's a little girl. Now, in any other Sword of Truth book with Richard, there would be some sort of way Richard would have figured out how to make sure he didn't have to kill the girl before doing it. But this one, he just seems to do it. And I was like, ooh, that's very out of character. That's out of character for the Richard I know, because the Richard I know loves lecturing people about how he's going to fix the issue. So Hateful Things really kind of showed us that there was this side of Richard, maybe that Goodkind was trying to grow, but never got the chance to. And it's a side that I wish it was explained, because it just comes out of nowhere. Well, boom, he killed the girl. What? That's not like him. that takes me out of the story. But in Witch's Oath, we're perfectly back to the story, because I have to listen to Richard's speech about how he can fix everything, and about how he's going to make a selfless sacrifice, and how he's going to make sure everything's better over and over again. I've been here 15 times before. Okay? Now, Into Darkness didn't need to be this long. This book spends so much time. Now, granted, you're flipping a page once every 30 seconds, maybe. If you are a slow reader who likes to take in all the details of each page, maybe you're spending 45 seconds on each page. Who knows? It moves so quickly. You get Shota's back in the mix, and we all know Shota loves everything. It's just one of these weirdnesses that it was such an odd book, and really, when I finished it, I did have to ask myself the question of, was this whole series worth it? Was this storyline that was spread over the danger of not only being able to give birth to the children of Dahara, the two kids, but there was also that lingering question from Shota: would they be able to control a male confessor if he was brought into this world? Would they be able to handle all that power? That's the morality question in there, and you would think that's interesting if they hadn't already hammered that home so many times already. Now, like I said, I'm trying to be respectful because Mr. Goodkind's not around to defend his work anymore, and there are people who love these books, and I want to tell you right now, great, I love that you really enjoyed the world here. But with both the Children of Dahara and the Sister Nikki books, sorry, not Sister Nikki, Nikki, Sister of Darkness. Somebody really lost it at me once in a video that I called her Sister Nikki still. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'm sorry that bothered you so much, so I'm going to say the Nikki, Sister of Darkness Chronicles. They both felt like Nikki was building up to have some sort of grand world-ending event, and I really thought in Heart of Black Ice you would see at least Richard or Kaelin, but you only heard about Richard through the cryptic gift he gave her to fix all of it. And to find out that this was why he couldn't show up and help her out, this storyline, it feels like this would have been outsourced by Richard. But anyway, well, no, Richard never outsources anything, otherwise he can't take the credit for it. You can see, after 7 years of me reading this series, why I'm a little exhausted. Because there's part of me that has a small sliver of hope that it'll get better. Part of my story as a reader that I tell people is, back in 2015, I finally came to terms with the fact that I was suffering from depression. There were a few incidents that happened in my life that really not only made me question my career, made me question the relationship with my wife, made me question everything I was doing, to the point where I was like, do I even deserve to be alive? The only thing that got me through all of that was finally sitting down and reading a book that was fun. I was doing a lot of work in history. History books are dry. There are people who love them, and all the more power to you if you love them. But having to read so many history books, it took its toll on me eventually. So I finally turned to fantasy. The first book I read was The Last Wish, which was the Introduction to the Witcher book. I got it from the local library. And I started reading Blood of the Elves, and I couldn't get into it. There was one chapter that just went on and on, debating what should happen to Princess Ciri, and I was like, I'm gone. I think that chapter went on for 80 pages. And I turned and I searched the library to see what other books there were, and I came across Wizard's First Rule, and I read it, and I thought it was good. It was a great callback to early fantasy, that Arthurian style. I've talked about that before, when I did my Wizard's First Rule review on this channel. Looking back on it, it's not so much, but at the time, when I needed an escape, someplace to go, this series was there for me, and there was plenty of books in this series to keep me occupied. So when I hear that there's another series of books, and this one's about Richard and Kaelin, I went into it already with some excitement because I was like, great, Nikki Sister of Darkness books are fun, but it'd be nice to have those original characters back. I didn't love Severed Souls and Third Kingdom from Richard and Caitlin, but I thought Good Kind stuck the landing with Warheart. And I began reading it, and then I was like, okay, so it does say novella. It does say novella on the first one. I'll keep going. And I kept going, and I kept going, and by the time I reached Witch's Oath, I think I was done with the character of Richard and his perfect ability to do everything. It harkened back to the days of Naked Empire, where he just knew all, and no one should question it because I have the answer. And then they question it, and they try to do the thing, and they don't succeed, and Richard goes, see, it's because you didn't do it the way I told you to do it. So that's even more heightened in this series, in the Children of Dahara, for me. I still love these characters. I do. I get the feeling that you read reviews on Goodreads, and if there's one thing you should never do on Goodreads, it's read the reviews, because there are some really nasty reviews about this series out there. One of it was he's speed writing to get the story done. Someone was like, I think he's self-editing his books, otherwise there'd be a bit more character development with Richard instead of just the I know everything type of deal. In the end, I think the Children of Dahara series had a lot of potential. I'm not sure if it reached that potential. I think it was shortly after I read Into Darkness that I heard of his passing. And someone had commented on the channel recently that there is no more plans. The estate has nothing for the continuance of the series. So that's Children of Dahara. Do I think that there's any more that can be done with these characters? I think we're done. The Nikki storyline was wrapped up fairly well. I wouldn't say very well. And then I think Richard and Caitlin's golden age is about to begin, finally, with this end of Into Darkness. There is the 1-volume version of this, if you can find it anywhere. Otherwise, if possible, I would say, if you're intrigued, maybe get the ebook, if you don't mind reading it that way, because I can promise you it'll probably go a lot faster in ebook format, and you'll save a lot of money in ebook format, because I think this one was $15, fine, okay? This one was still $15. This one, I think, rose to $19. It's a little thicker. This one was $22, because the price is on the back. And then this one was $25. And these are all books that I just destroyed and demolished either in a day or 2 days. So it's going to go by a lot faster if you get the ebooks, and you'll save a lot of money. So if I were to rate the whole series, the whole Children of Dahara series, I would say 2.5, because there's some interesting world building here going on. But at the same time, the character developments, the characters themselves just seem out of place. So that's just me. It's not wholly negative, but it's not incredibly positive. That's going to be it. There's no more books in this series except Law of Nines. I know it has some stuff to do with the series, but I've also been told it's okay if you leave it out. If you hear that's different, then please let me know. Next week, I will be ranking the Sword of Truth books. Of course, this series of books will all just be given one entry. I'm not going to go 5 different ones. We're just going to go, with it as one. And then after that, I will be jumping into some other stuff I've been reading. I recently have encountered the first book series where I've given up. Yep. I got to about 50 pages within book 2 of the series that I was reading, and you'll find out what it is soon enough. And I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this writing style. It's not for me. It's for somebody, but it's not for me. So thank you everyone for joining in. It's been a long road with these book reviews, and we'll see you next time for the final wrap up.